Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and today we're going to be speaking about investing in India. What are the areas of opportunity or technologies or industries that you should be paying attention about? What do you need to know as an investor looking to invest in the country for the first time? But overall, what does the venture capital markets look like today and the startup ecosystem as well? Well, I'm joined by some of my outstanding co-hosts from the VCTV family to talk just about that. But also on today's topic, a big congratulations to India's first crypto unicorn, Coin DCX, that we spoke about earlier today. Very exciting news in not only the cryptocurrency and digital asset space, but for India as a whole. Big thank you to the Token team, to Maria and Hasmik for making today's episode possible. With that, let's go ahead and welcome each and every one of our guests and co-hosts today. Joel, welcome to the show. A little intro and background for everybody, please.
Yeah, Kyle, I know we're running short time this time. So basically, we're a hospitality advisory firm based in Hong Kong. We have an office in India, and we've done a lot of work in India in the food and beverage space, the retail space. Our clients are family offices, venture capital, private equity funds.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tushar.
Thank you, Kyle. It's good to be on the panel today speaking about the investments in India. I run Consultancy Ventures. We are affiliated with almost 300, 350 venture capital funds and angel investors. I am a venture advisor with Loyal VC, the Canadian VC fund. Personally, an investor in 4 companies, and very excited to talk about investing in India today.
Absolutely. Harsh.
Hey Kyle, glad to be back on this panel with some amazing friends here. I'm Harsh Shetia, a venture partner with our ventures. I help early stage startups raise funds up to $10 to $15 million. I also run a Facebook group called Startup Hackers, where I'm consulting, mentoring, and advising early stage startups to reach their first 6 and 7 phases of revenue.
And Giampaolo.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle, for having me here. Welcome, everybody. This is Giampaolo Parigi. I'm a venture capitalist, private equity specialist, run a private equity group in London, a single family office in New York, and I'm a partner of a private equity group in California. I'm also on the board as non-executive director in an India company, and I'm a partner in a VC partnership in India. I'm delighted to be here today to discuss India coming of age in the cyberspace, in the manufacturing, and in many other fields. Back to you, Kyle.
Absolutely. Thank you, Giampaolo, including gaming as well. We've seen gaming explode in India, and in some cases leading some of the biggest games and franchises out there as well from a user base standpoint. Furthermore, and Tushar, why don't you kick us off? Talk to us a little bit about what's happening in India on the venture capital side as investments are starting to pour in to Giampaolo and Joel and Harsh's points previously. We're seeing industry start to take shape. The startup ecosystem seems to be developing properly in cities amongst or throughout the country. But give us your view, being on the ground there and having invested some time and capital in the region.
Well, Kyle, tech investing in India is now formally a decade old. Technically 2 decades old, but real momentum started 10 years ago with significant capital coming into big success stories like the e-commerce company Flipkart, which got sold to Walmart for $21 billion. And this euphoria, it culminated in 2014 and 15 when the excitement was more surrounded around the internet consumer startups. And you know, Tiger Global was leading the charge, and SoftBank was leading the charge as well. Then you know, the companies which are unicorns today. So as of now, we are seeing almost 3 to 4 companies become unicorns every week, and India is now having a total of 121 unicorns, and Credit Suisse says that we will soon have 250. And the rate at which we are creating unicorns, it's you know, just like the Chinese used to create unicorns. 2 or 3 things have changed since the time when Tiger and SoftBank were very bullish. People have realized that in India, the spending capacity with the first 50 to 100 million is very strong. but post 100 and post 200 million, it falls off a cliff. So the main targets for the consumer side is the first 100 to 200 million people, and out of that, almost 100 million speak English very well. But that means that the vernacular languages, that market is also pretty strong. So ShareChat, which operates in vernacular languages, 15 to 20 vernacular languages, already became a unicorn. So this is it. Content is going strong. A lot of Chinese investment, like Tencent and Alibaba, and Daily Hunt, NewsDog. These are all content-based companies which became big very fast on the back of Chinese investment. And AI and machine learning are the new trends, although they are more enterprise oriented. But in today's times, if you are not using AI, then you will lag behind. So this is what's happening.
That's great points. Thank you, Tushar. Giampaolo, I want to come to you next. Having this global perspective, working in private equity to venture capital, you're working with a venture group on the ground in India and investing globally. Are you seeing similar trends, or what are you seeing in terms of investing in India and kind of some of the areas that you're focused on with the partnership that you have in the region?
Very good question. Thank you, Kyle. Yes, as I said before, India is definitely coming of age. For about 2 decades, there has been this comparison between India and China. And the comparison really was based on the fact that China primarily manufactured products for the outside world, whereas India has manufactured a lot, but primarily products that were destined to the domestic market. And I think now we are on an inflection point where India is really determined to make its mark as a manufacturing powerhouse. And so every sector is affected, both at bricks and mortars level as well as digital and I would say software and IT level, by this transformation, by this really renewed elan of India moving forward into the 21st century. I think we are having now finally a great partner and global competitor that really can measure up with big continental blocks and Europe, North America, and China. And actually, when you take a look at the combined GDP of those 4 blocks, you have about 90% of the world GDP in those 4 blocks. So I don't think that there's much to be added. I see as a VC the opportunity to continue and invest in digital transformation, digital infrastructure, environment, healthcare, but also I see that I would say terrestrial hardware infrastructure is also much needed in many parts of India. So I think that also for private equity, that's an interesting opportunity, and also for investors like pension funds and insurance companies and sovereign wealth funds that have an even longer horizon in terms of investment returns. Because without infrastructure, the modernization of a country cannot be considered complete. And I think India on that count has still something to recoup. But I think it's moving forward really at really great steps, and actually I would say leaping tall buildings in a single bound, as we say back in the States. So this is really impressive, and I'm not surprised, but I think a lot of the other countries out there might be surprised by India coming so strongly on the market. So I think we'll have a lot of interesting activity and a lot of business multipliers that will be activated by having so many unicorns in the market. They will really, pull the whole industry forward by different orders of magnitudes simultaneously. Thank you.
And also adding in education into that mix as well. Anuj and Harsh, we've spoken about that. Harsh, anything else to add on to Tushar and Giampaolo's points, and maybe some of the industries that you're seeing within the region, again, being based there and also investing pretty heavily within the region?
Correct. So definitely India has kind of grown really, ever since COVID, right? You see the small businesses in the other sectors, while they've been struggling, the startups have, completely gone up. And it kind of shows and demonstrates the efficacy and the resiliency of these startups, right? They've grown leap by leaps and bounds. Especially you look at gaming startups, you look at edtech startups, you look at fintech sectors. These three sectors have done phenomenally well. Even the health tech space. Typically in India, health tech space, what was happening was we were still struggling to find that one unicorn in the health tech space. We had some very heavily funded companies, but not a single unicorn. We finally had this year in PharmEasy, right? So that's why we are seeing a lot of growth happening and a lot of funding going through there, as a consequence of that. People used to wonder that these companies are getting this crazy money at these crazy valuations, which does not make sense. And during COVID times, when this was the toughest time for businesses, these businesses have shown how resilient they are compared to conventional business. And the number of unicorns has just, kind of skyrocketed. So if you look at some of the major sectors, obviously, if fintech, edtech, health tech, these are the three most major sectors which I believe, to have a lot of potential. SaaS to an extent is kind of growing as well. But Tushar made a very interesting point regarding vernacular startups, right? This year we've seen specifically a very interesting trend where 2-3 startups, which were primarily focusing on creating content and targeting the vernacular medium folks of India, which is like 80% of India's population, right? And they've done phenomenally well and they've received phenomenal funding. And so that's why it kind of shows that there's still a lot of potential, there's still a lot of hope left in the Indian market as well. All of that is still not tapped and still a lot of potential is there. One major thing which happened about 3 weeks back is Zomato did its IPO, right? And it was a blockbuster successful IPO, and the company is still loss making. So it kind of shows that the Indian market has come of age, right? Typically, just about 3-4 years back, you couldn't even get an IPO done if the company wasn't making profits. And right now, not only did a loss-making company did an IPO, but it went phenomenally well and it was oversubscribed. So it's kind of showing that how much the market is ready right now, and that is because of that how many international investors are eyeing the Indian market because of that right now. Many private equity investors have kind of reached out to me saying that help us find the right opportunities. We are looking to find those good opportunities we want to invest in.
And also content creators as well. Wanted to bring that up as well. We're seeing a lot of activity around content creation, social media as well, as that is an enormous growing area within the country. And Anuj, I want to come to you next. I mean, you're working from education to healthcare, to gaming, to some of these other areas. What else are you seeing industry-wise or activity from the investing landscape within India at the moment?
So, I mean, I say this from two perspectives here. I say this from the perspective of a founder, having started 3 companies before. I say this from the perspective of an angel investor as well. India has been a tough market where you have homegrown investors who did not really have that huge risk-taking appetite. Over the last 10 years or so, that appetite really developed. They were taking in bigger bets, they were writing bigger checks, and then they were making those decisions faster by the day. As that market matured, we are now more or less entering the next phase. It's futile for me to talk about any industry vertical. I mean, you're talking about a country with 1.3 billion people where you have a very high percentage of people who speak English, where you can very closely relate to that market, to the American market as well. I mean, Netflix did tremendously well in India, other than US, because we were very open and acceptive towards the American culture. We were very welcoming to that English language, to that pop culture, and then we welcomed it with open arms. And that's the case for so many other companies. That's why, compared to other markets like China, where you have a hard time getting into the market, and then you have so many regulations where you have to abide by the government rule, India has practically been a very free market. That has allowed investors to come in, and then with that money pouring in over the last decades, where we were notorious for not having an exit, I personally was very happy when I was able to sell my company in 2018. It was one of the rare occasions when this happens. But over this year and over the next coming years, we're going to see a lot more exits. Not only are Indian companies now being acquired by foreign players, we had one company which has recently been acquired by another organization based out of Tokyo. That organization belongs to a friend of mine, and it's really a fantastic feeling. Similar way, we are seeing companies going public, Zomato being a prime example. Paytm is most certainly planning one in November. Oyo is in the lines. So those giant unicorns that usually would stay private for a long period of time, are now actually are now actively taking steps to make sure that the investors get an exit and the investors' confidence continues to build with us as well. Yes, this is just the beginning. Of course, there's a long way to go. Zomato, even though was oversubscribed, but by no means it was a very successful IPO, or it was probably one of the top 9. It's definitely it's definitely path breaking because it's one of the first, but there's still a long way to go, and I'm very sure that over the next 10 years you're going to see tremendous improvements in market.
10 years, it might even be faster than that with the rate things are going. To be honest, we could see this in 5.
Absolutely. I mean, Hirsch said we have not seen a healthcare unicorn, and I very honestly still believe that pharmacy is still a pharma unicorn. They are running an e-pharmacy, which is very different from a medtech and then from a healthcare perspective. So a country where you can have a company that can come in and change the healthcare landscape for a lot of people has the potential to not just be a unicorn, but more or less get that Uber level of growth, growing from 0 to probably 100 billion in a matter of 7 to 8 years.
And Joel, coming to you next, I mean, you've invested throughout the region of Southeast Asia and also India, along with Africa and many other regions. How has India differed from some of those other areas that you've invested in globally, whether it be Asia, whether it be Africa? What has been the difference in terms of experience for you investing within the country?
Well, let me just compare it easily to China, because we spent a lot of time in China the last 20 years, and obviously you cannot compare the infrastructure of China to India. So the positive part about China is the infrastructure is amazing, the ports, the roads, you can manufacture just about anywhere and get your goods to market very easily. That hasn't been the case in India. On the other hand, China is much more restrictive. The rules are very difficult to understand. You never know what industry the government's going to target next. So India has benefits from that. And also the fact that India does, as we said before, 1.3, 1.4 billion people, you can overlook a lot of obstacles when there's 1.3 billion people somewhere. So India can get away with not being as good as it could be because of the number of people there. So I would say that, our focus is basically at the moment on a lot of plant-based stuff, because we look at the consumer in India, we know the percentage of vegetarians. We don't even think anyone scratched the surface on providing different types of plant-based foods and beverages to the Indian consumer. So that's a lot of where we're spending our time on. The second area we're spending our time on are ghost kitchens. We've done a lot of work in the US with ghost kitchens, in China, in Indonesia. And so what we see happening, Zomato is a good example with delivery. Basically, the trends that we've seen before in the United States, which went to China, which went to Indonesia, which went with Grab in Malaysia and Singapore, et cetera, basically India's been following the trends. And I noticed with Zomato, they're not making any money in delivery. That's the same with all the delivery companies, and they're trying to make it up with fintech. So I think a lot of the trends we see in other parts of the world are coming to India, and that's kind of the low-hanging fruit. But whether they can actually make money or not is still a question mark when they can't make money at Grab or Gojek or these other places. So we're focusing on where we're pretty sure we can make positive cash flow, which is consumer-based businesses that don't rely. I mean, surely they're digitized, but they're not reliant on massive spending of capital, massive losses on the hope in the future that they'll turn a profit. Because I can tell you, delivery will not make money. It hasn't made money anywhere in the world. It's not going to make any money in India.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Joel. Giampaolo, I want to come to you real quick. I mean, advice for investors looking to invest in the country for the first time. As someone who's an outsider that is now partnered and making investments, what are some of those lessons that you've learned quickly in terms of your time investing within the region, working with local partners, for those others that are thinking about doing the same?
Well, I mean, we wanna take a look at some of the pitfalls that foreign investors may encounter in India, because of course it's not all gold that glitters. Definitely, the fact that the country speaks English can be deceiving, and the fact that the country is a democracy can be also deceiving. In terms of the rule of law that exists in India, I think India has to still better its act when it comes to the judicial system and the length of an average lawsuit. takes about 14 years and to reach the Supreme Court. And I think that's something that foreign investors have to be aware about in order to minimize the adverse impact of any potential litigation and suing as a result of their investment activity. So this is definitely one aspect that I would recommend foreign investors to delve in and be very, very attentive as to how they maneuver, because if they ever got embroiled in a lawsuit, it might completely defy the whole purpose of investing just because of the length of the trials. And second, I mean, again, like our colleague said from Hong Kong, I mean, the infrastructure, it's still somehow in a haphazardous shape, and it needs to be overhauled and completed, both digital and physical, because without that you can't really say that the country can perform at its best. One advantage again that China and that India has over China, for example, is the composition of its population. On average, I think India has an average age of 29 and a half years versus China, which is close to the 60s, like in most of the Western countries. So the demographic curve definitely seems to present advantages for Indians, and foreign investors should be wary of that as well. To play the demographics to their advantage, so that they can create a win-win situation when they deploy investments in the country. I think those are, I realize, macro economic and social aspects that are hovering over our own heads and the heads of the Indians. So we can't really change them at once, but we need to be wary, and we need to act and invest accordingly, in keeping that as a background picture, as a reference picture.
And Giampaolo, thank you. And where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation if they're looking to connect or get further advice for you around investing in India?
Yes, I must apologize because I leave this panel early. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can find me via giampaoloparigi1@gmail.com if you want to reach me on my email. Thank you, everyone, gentlemen, and see you in the next round. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Giampaolo. Tushar, closing thoughts for those that looking to invest in the region, your advice being on the ground. What's your quick advice to those looking to begin investing from outside as foreign investors into India?
My advice is that you should know the ground situation with each sector. So right now fintech is very hot. Broadly divided into payments, lending, and insurance. Insurance is moving slowly. So the formalization and acceptance of insurance is moving slowly. But payments has exploded, and Walmart, after Walmart took over Flipkart, they launched a payment app called PhonePe, and they are already valuing it at $16 billion. So because of the 200 million, 300 million users of the app. And lending is exploding as well. So, we have apps through which you can take easy minute loans. And another aspect is, just like WeChat in China caters and to almost 920 million Chinese. So there is a race now to develop a super app. And the race is being led by top two conglomerates in India, Reliance and Tata's. And that has meant that these companies have become buyers of startups, and they are buying startups left, right, and center. So Reliance bought Milk Basket, they bought Urban Ladder, and Tata's bought 1mg, and Reliance bought NetMeds. And so, just like Google's and Facebook's, the FANGs, they keep on buying new companies, providing a kind of an exit to a lot of startups. So that kind of a system is taking shape. And, there has been an investment of $44 billion in Jio, which is a telecom company with the digital angle to it, of the Reliance Group. And it got 44 billion. Google put in money, Facebook put in money, Qualcomm put in money. So, all the top names put in money. So, that super app phenomena is likely to play out with a lot of good exit opportunities. And like Harsh said, Zomato became the first new age digital tech company to list on the Indian stock market, commanding a huge valuation. So the kind of valuations which we have seen on Nasdaq and New York Stock Exchange, we are seeing a similar kind of valuation for the new age tech companies, and that has meant that one of the loophole, which was not easy exits, so that has been closed. And agri-tech is one which it's an issue because we have fragmented farm sizes. Hence agri-tech, there's a lot of talk about it, but trying to sell agri-tech to the farmers is not easy.
Agreed. And Tushar, I apologize because we're just at time here, so I want to make sure. Where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation, and then we'll come around for everyone else. So where can everyone? Thank you for the thoughts and insights around this today. Where can everyone find you to continue the conversation?
I'm available on my LinkedIn by my name, Tushar Kansal, and also my website, consultancy.com, and my email, tk@consultancy.com. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thank you, Tushar. Harsh, where can everyone find you to continue the conversation?
I'm available on LinkedIn, Harsh Shetia. I'm pretty active over there. Even on Facebook, everyone can freely reach out to me. I would like to add one point over here regarding the exits, right? In the Indian M&A and exit market is still very in the early stages, right? Just like the tech M&A, which happens quite commonly in US, India is still not that developed. So if someone thinks that they can invest in early stage and get that exit quickly, it's still not going to happen. So just bear in mind that fact before you think of investing in an early stage startup in India.
Thank you very much, Harsh. Joel, where can everyone find you to continue the conversation?
LinkedIn is as good a place as any. Joel Silverstein, East West Hospitality Group, and you can go to our website, ewhospitality.com.
Wonderful. Lastly, Anuj, where can everyone find you to continue the conversation?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Anuj Chauhan, or you can go on our website, yellowsapphiretech.com. Otherwise, you can look me up on Twitter @Anuj. You see my name at the bottom left on the screen, so it'll be pretty easy to find me.
Wonderful. Anuj, Harsh, Joel, Tushar, and Giampaolo, thank you all for your thoughts and insights around investing in India today. To our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, make sure you click like, share, and subscribe on today's episode. Also, if you haven't done so already, go to latoken.com to hear from today's speakers and all speakers of the VCTV family. A big thank you to the Latoken team, including Hasmik and Maria, for making today's episode possible. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow with more VCTV.